Craig Mish is back in town. Finally, we're going to dig into all of the reaction from Don Mattingly and the Marlins parting ways, what the future may hold in that area specifically, and also what are the key off-season moves that Kim Ang will look to make in the 2023 off-season on today's Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England and welcome to Locked On Marlins. This is your daily Marlins podcast with me, Peter Pratt. And don't forget to follow me, of course, on Twitter at @MiamiMarlins_UK. Please subscribe to the pod. And it's available everywhere and it's free. This is a free pod. Most pods are free, but this one is also free and it's 5 episodes a week, Monday to Friday. This is the Thursday episode. If you are watching on YouTube, you will see hello, greetings, and welcome to my living room. And you will also see Craig Mish is in the house. Suit jacket and all, he is looking flames. Look at Craig Mish. I did tease him on Twitter.
That's why I'm wearing this jacket.
Oh, it's sensational. I should have known. Craig Mish never misses anything on Twitter. Craig, how you doing?
I'm doing well. It's great to be back with you here, Pete. Can't wait to get into what we're going to talk about here. Let's try and not to make any enemies today. I don't know.
Let's try. Anything can happen on Locked On. It's a big audience.
I have a feeling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We'll try our best.
That's probably it's not the highlight of the season, but it's definitely one of the bigger stories for me of the season, where how many people blocked me on Twitter before the end of the season. I got a new block, by the way, and somebody else blocked me too recently. So.
Oh boy. And do you want to share who that was, or should we move on from that point?
Oh, let's just say he's loud.
Oh my days. Well, I guess that.
Believe it? Do you believe it?
I actually can't believe that, to be honest with you. I would have expected. Well, maybe that was over the Monte Harrison, jersey.
No.
But
yeah.
Anyway,
it's a shame. I keep all my friends are turning on me, but it's okay. I still have you, Pete. That's the important thing.
Listen, I've never blocked anyone in my life, so that's guaranteed. So you're all good on that. Craig, we've got tons to get into. So let's dive into it. Don Mattingly, a massive story that dropped over last weekend, a mutual parting of ways, it seems. Immediate reaction on that one of Donnie, and also how would you kind of assess Don Mattingly's tenure as the Marlins manager as well? Because it's been long, he's been through it all, but overall now it's done. What's your view?
Yeah, so it's kind of sad for me because I appreciate him so much and grew up as such a huge fan of Don Mattingly, and then when he was hired, it was really cool. I was like, wow, like this is the guy that I'm going to get to interact with for a couple of years, and a couple became 7. He really lasted a long time in terms of managers in Major League Baseball. A lot of losing the last 7 years too, by the way. For that, but as far as being like a steward of the organization and someone to speak on behalf of players and respect the media and respect the people that he worked for and worked with, you're not going to find anybody better in baseball than Don Mattingly. He's just an unbelievable human, a great guy, and I'm going to miss him a lot. There's bits and pieces of me that actually did get a little emotional about it. Like I'm really going to miss talking to him and seeing him. I've developed a great working relationship with him through the years. He's been extremely complimentary of me to other people. Obviously, I'm extremely complimentary of him. And I think that you can't understate that he went through 2 of the most adversarial difficulties of this organization, maybe even 3 when you think about it. The first, of course, was Jose Fernandez passing away. He had to lead the organization through that. That was just incredible. And then the second time, they traded away everybody, and then he was like, all right, I'll stick it out. I'm going to stay through this rebuild here, too. Yeah. And then the third was the COVID season that he ended up winning Manager of the Year for. So I don't think that if you were going to give a grade for Donnie managing the Marlins, that he would get an A by any stretch, maybe not even a B, to be honest with you, because they didn't win a heck of a lot. But as far as being a great human and somebody that you basically enjoyed working with on a daily basis, who respect the players and who respect the people around him, I thought it was a good choice then. I think it is the right choice now, too. I think the time has come for him and for the organization, really, to go in another direction. As he said, time for a new voice. And I thought the organization did a great job handling it. I thought Donnie did a great job handling it. Now we'll see if he stays with them in the future. I don't think so. I think that this is it, but I guess that remains to be seen. We'll see what happens in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I think the language you used was "I'm not ready for the couch yet," and to me that
Right.
says he's still ready to go. So we'll wait and see what that brings. When did you get the sense that maybe Donnie wouldn't be here for 2023? I know the news dropped, relatively recently, but when did you get a sense that this may not be an extension in the offing?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like I've known that for a long time, but
Mm,
as far as like officially knowing when it was coming to an end, the announcement was Sunday. I think I knew. I think I knew that was coming like a few days before, probably.
yeah.
That it was imminent. That something was going to happen imminently. I didn't know when or how, but I got wind of it that it wasn't going to go down at the end of the season.
Mm,
And then once I knew that, then I just have to do some investigating. I'm like, okay, well they're not going to do this when they're on the road in Milwaukee, right? Like that's not going to happen. Yom Kippur is the last day of the season in Miami, the Jewish holiday. You're not gonna do a whole. I mean, respectfully, I am Jewish, and Jews essentially do nothing. Most Jews do nothing on Yom Kippur. You're not going to do a goodbye on Yom Kippur. And then you had the other Jewish holiday, had Rosh Hashanah. Maybe I'm making more of Jewish holidays than I should. But this was the kind of research that I was doing, just sort of figuring out when would be the appropriate time. And so I knew it was going to happen last weekend. I just didn't know which day. I was, poking around, and then finally, I think I found out for sure. I felt confident Saturday night that something was going to happen on Sunday. Yeah.
Like you said, it was well handled, though. I feel like the announcements came out, and equally it gives the players. I heard, I think Miggy talking on Chris Rose's pod today or yesterday, saying that it gives the guys just a bit of time to, I guess, say goodbye to Donnie in many ways, and thank him for what he's been to them as players and whatever. So I think they've handled it right and gives Donnie an opportunity. It isn't the last day and it's announced and whatever. Like you said, it's there probably won't be a ton of people around to see that game anyway. Nevertheless, Kim now will be hunting down for a new manager.
Right. Also, I want to add: don't underestimate the idea that Donnie also did this early enough to give his coaches an opportunity to start kicking tires on possibilities when he's gone. Because I think that the writing is on the wall very clearly with all of that. And
True.
if Donnie does this the last day of the season and then their contracts expire,
yeah.
I think I think most of the coaches, Pete, probably knew already that this was inevitable. But look at Donnie, probably bailing right, a couple weeks before the end to say, hey, now you guys at least have a couple weeks to sort of figure out what you want to do. Because I think you and I would both agree it's unlikely outside of Mel Stottlemyre that anybody would be retained on the Major League coaching staff. I personally, it could happen. I just don't see it at the moment.
It'd be surprising. I wasn't going to ask you at this point, but it's the right time to ask because a lot of people are asking, what's the impact here to Mel Stottlemyre? Obviously, expiring deal has been a massive part of the Marlins' successes in recent years. What's your gut feel on this one at this point?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that I think he's going to stay.
Wow.
I do think he's going to stay, but I'm not positive. Definitely not positive. I also don't think we're going to get resolution on this until the end of the season, which makes me a little nervous because then at some point some other team could come in with him as a free agent and offer him something beyond what he can be offered here. Now, I don't think that applies financially to Mel because I think the organization is going to take care of him in a financial way. They have to in order to keep him here. He's got to be paid like, I don't know, Pete, top 10 pitching coach, top 5 pitching coach. He's got to be paid like that. You can't offer him the 20th highest salary as pitching coach in baseball. He's going to leave. So
exactly.
So I'm feeling positive along those lines. I think he's going to stay. I think so. I'm not positive, but I would like to have this happen like tomorrow or the next day and not wait till the very end. But I don't have clarity on that yet. So we're just going to have to wait and see.
Have they started? I mean, you may not know this, but do you get a sense they've started the conversations, or are they kind of doing
With
a Starling Marte with Mel? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I trust your view, and I think a lot of Marlins fans listening to this will be hopeful that they find a way forward to re-sign Mel. He's just been so important to this team, and the value is clear. So I do hope they can make that happen. I was going to ask you though before that, where do the Marlins go from a manager perspective in 2023? Where do you see the kind of best candidates? Because for me, I'm not clear yet. Like maybe got a profile in mind, but not any names. Where do you see things going?
I think they're going to interview a lot of people. I don't think it's going to interview like one or two people. I think you're going to be looking at 5, 6, 7, 8 candidates, maybe even more than that.
Right.
I think that they're going to do this extensively. I think they want to hear ideas from people around Major League Baseball that have jobs as how things go in their spot. And it'll be a learning process, I think, for them, honestly, to say, here's how we do it here, here's how we do it there. I don't know that it's a guaranteed requirement to have any coaching experience, but I think it is preferred.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it is a guarantee to have any managerial experience, and I don't know that it is preferred at all. I think that there's a chance that their manager could be a first-time manager in 2023. I think that there's a chance of that. It could be a manager from some other place previously. Certainly that's in the equation. I don't think that that's the way it's going to go, but I'm guessing right now because they haven't interviewed anybody yet.
Yeah.
But I do think the Marlins manager is going to be a first-time manager.
How analytically minded do you see them being, or that kind of profile they go for? Because my sense is they're going to go down that kind of path, but I don't know. That's just my gut feel on this one. What about you?
I think it'll be the opposite. I think I think it'll be. I think they're going to find a place for analytics in the organization.
Okay.
And I think they're going to find a place for, gut feel and process and just, what you normally hear in Major League Baseball in the past. I think there's going to be a dynamic where you may have heard, and I think probably what you're alluding to is there was this big scuttle when Donnie had made a couple comments about like the lineups were made in advance and all this stuff. And you know how I feel about Donnie, okay? And everybody does. But Donnie got to get real a little bit. I mean, he has had full autonomy over this thing for 5 years. There's been nobody telling him to make a lineup. No one.
Yep.
He has made the lineup. They can make suggestions, and he could choose to make them or not. But now all of a sudden, because they're out of it and they want to see some guys for next year, let's not get this twisted like this has been going on for 5 years. Don Mattingly has made the lineup, period. Now they will say, hey, should we bat this guy here or that? Give suggestions. Donnie will take some of those. So Lair leading off, right? Like that was an example maybe. But I think this is going to be a mix. I don't think this is going to be somebody that's going to come upstairs that's going to get the lineup from upstairs and they're going to put it on a piece of paper. They want a collaborative effort. And hopefully that's what will be the case here. And listen, you have different managers from different walks of life and different ways of doing it. So we're going to have to see. But there's some managers that are going to be on a list that are going to want control, Pete. They've been around the game a long time. They feel like, they have experience doing this. And then there are some that may want to defer more toward analytics. So I don't know if that really answers your question fully or not.
No, it does.
I don't think this is going to be someone that comes in that's just, that's someone else is pulling the strings. I don't think so.
Yeah, it's a good point. And that's where the question was driven from. And I think probably on that point, it was, the fact is we're in glorified spring training at the back end of the year in many ways where we're trying to get looks at guys and, and the computer says we want to see these guys and, it is what it is. So interesting for sure. Let's get the ad out of the way. And Craig, this one is a great one, no doubt. So feel free to chime in and feel free to use the promo code if required. No doubt. So, guys, let me cue this ad up here. This is, as you know, you'll know what it is before I've even said it, guys. Summer is winding down and the nights are getting longer, but the breeze isn't the only thing that's getting stiff. That's right. This episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. Guys, we all know that confidence can take you far in life. That's especially true in the bedroom, especially when it's time to step up to the plate. That's where Blue Chew comes in. Blue Chew, it's a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the cost. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. The process is simple. Sign up at bluechew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part, it's all done online. No visit to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew tablets are made in the US of A and prepared and shipped direct to your door. in a discreet package as well, by the way. And for those UK listeners, I'm afraid, sorry, no shipping to the UK. I have checked. Nevertheless, guys, if you could benefit from extra confidence when it's time to perform, chew it and do it. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use the promo code Locked On. Craig, that promo code again is Locked On. You just need to pay $5 for the shipping. BlueChew.com, and it's got all details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast. Stunning.
Nice. Chew it and do it.
Chew it and do it.
I think put that at the Lone Depot Park next year. Chew it and do it.
You could see a canny or a T-shirt, one of the two. But yeah, hey, Lone Depot, that hook up there feels right. Anyway, chew it and do it. To me, that is a real nice strapline there on the Blue Chews. Okay, so we've talked Donnie, we've talked Mel, we've talked who the approach may be in terms of the new manager. Let's talk about off-season priorities, etc., as we start to get our heads there, because boy, oh boy, it's been a disappointment in 23. It's fair to say. I think the question that's on fans' minds now, and is on mine as well, is how active do we see the Marlins being in terms of the major league roster through this 2023 offseason? Because there's a lot of vets around, there's a lot of committed money as well for some of the guys. So I'm intrigued to see the way they go about this, but how active do you see them being? And clearly, obviously, Kim's first order of business is to get the new manager in place as well and the staff. Right. So that's one of the things that maybe will take a time. But anyway, over to you on that one.
Yeah. I mean, I think that they'll make significant trades, but I thought that last offseason, to be honest. So I kind of got called out on that. I was wrong. They did make 2 trades last year by making that Wendell deal.
Yep.
And then obviously that trade right before the season started with the Orioles guys, and then getting Jacob Stallings. I guess those were like the 3 significant trades. They're going to have to do a lot more significant than that in order to make this work for next year. Yeah. So my estimate is they'll take another run at Reynolds again. That's probably my guess here, and see if they can pluck him away from the Pirates. I know that their ask was super high, but I just don't think the Marlins have any choice at this point. And no. They're not in a position of strength as far as making that deal is concerned. They cannot go into next year again with this massive hole at center field. Like, I mean, it has proven to be one of the most important positions playing at home in that park. Yeah. With these dudes running up against the wall and falling down. I mean, my goodness, enough already. They got to get a center fielder. So whether it is him or whether it is someone else, I think that has to be at the top. And by the way, the guy doesn't have to be an all-star. It's just they need a center fielder.
Yeah.
For next year, they have no one on the roster.
No corner outfielders in center field, right?
They don't really have any outfielders, to be honest, but they really need a center fielder. Like, they have to have that next year.
They do.
And then after that, I mean, they need a lot of stuff. Let's be honest, they need a lot. They probably have second base filled. Jazz can play second. I think there, some maybe talk about him playing short. I don't know, but that there's a lot. It's complicated there, obviously. So we'll see. But Jazz is a piece on the team next year for sure. Yeah. I think Stallings will be back on the team and play catcher, I would guess. You have Joey Wendell, I believe, will be back and playing somewhere. John Birdie, who was so good in the first half, oh my goodness, like he has really, I think they overused him again this year. He just doesn't look the same anymore. I think he'll be back. Cooper will get himself healthy. He'll be part of that first base mix. And I think Soler will be the DH. But beyond that, that's 5 players, and that's not a professional major league lineup. They're going to have to make some serious upgrades, Pete.
I'm with you on that. Are you just on the center field situation? You're not bought into the Brian De La Cruz hype then, right?
Again? No. He's probably better than he's probably his numbers in the first half of the year were a little unlucky. I know for me to say unlucky, everyone's going to say, wait, Craig called somebody unlucky.
Yeah.
He probably was a little unlucky, but it is September. Let's not go down this road again. I still think, even when he went down and didn't have the great first half, I still said I think he could be a viable 4th outfielder. I still do believe that.
Yeah.
But you can't go in with him as a starter. You can't go in with Jesus Sanchez as a starter.
No.
Like those things can't happen. You can't, and no disrespect to Brian Anderson, he can't come in. You can't go in with next year with him being a starter at any position next year. You can't do it. You have to have better options there, and that's why some moves have to be made.
I've got a couple of other follow-ups, but I just want to ask you this one: are they going to spend any money in free agency?
What do you mean by spend? Like, are they going to spend $1? Yes.
Yes. Okay. We committing $1. Are we committing? Is there going to be a contract 100 million plus committed money, for example?
No chance.
50 million plus committed?
Don't think so.
No. Okay.
I think that they can make trades to acquire players that have a year or two left on their deal.
Yeah.
That make $10 million or $15 million, but I don't foresee them giving out another contract like they gave Avisail Garcia. And I know people are not going to want to hear this, and they're not going to like to hear it, but I don't blame them. I do not blame them. I mean, who do you trust at this point to hand out a $50 million contract in that organization? What has been proven by anybody that works there? No disrespect to Kim, but until you prove that you can sign a guy for 1 year and $5 million, you know, like again, like, okay, let's just try again. Okay, let's just ask the owner. Yeah, let's go. Can you give us another 50 because we want to sign, JD Martinez to a 2-year, $50 million contract. Okay, sure, let's do that again. Now he's bad. It's like, like something has to be proven a little bit. The trades have sort of worked out. That seems like it's a viable thing. But Avisail Garcia's deal does not look good. So Lair probably will rebound, but that deal does not look good either. And I sort of don't blame them. I really don't. And no one's going to want to hear that, and everyone's going to say, well, if you own a baseball team, you can't just do that and just put your tail behind your legs and say we screwed up on a 50 and a 40. We got to do it again. I don't know that you have to do it again. I think you have to try a different way, and hopefully that is what they'll attempt. But to do nothing in the offseason would be inexcusable. That's for sure.
I'm completely with you on that. I guess one of the key names was Pablo Lopez around the deadline, clearly. Yep. He moves into his final year of arbitration as well now for Pablito. So, I think that's an obvious opportunity there for the Fish because seemingly they're not going to look to extend Pablo is maybe the vibe we're getting. There was some heat there with the Yankees. There was some talks as well with the Dodgers. Can you see that as a likely opportunity in the offseason to revisit with either of those two clubs or even a different club, perhaps?
Yeah, no, Pablo's a possibility. I think any of the pitchers outside of Sandy are a possibility. Maybe not Yuri Perez, but I think everybody else is on the possibility list. And in order to acquire a star, you're going to have to trade a star, Pete, whether that organization thinks it's a future star or a current star. That's what I keep banging my head against the wall with. It's like, they want a lot for Reynolds, as they should. He's a really good player.
Exactly.
And I don't, it's like, are you trying to win or are you trying to worry about 5 years from now? We were trying to worry about 5 years from now, 5 years ago. And nothing happened since then. So to get Reynolds, you have to give up Yuri Perez or maybe not, or maybe Trevor Rogers or Edwin Cabrera and Khalil Watson. Yes, these are huge names and a big part of the Marlins' future. But how many years of the present are you going to lose 90 games without inevitably having to bite the bullet on this sort of stuff? And it's not just Reynolds. I'm sure that there are other names that will come up. The one thing that we don't know, Pete, that I said this last year, I'm going to say it again. If we were doing this Locked On Marlins last year, and you said to me, give me your top 10 teams for Corey Seager. Pete, would we have mentioned the Rangers in that conversation in the top 10?
We would not have.
How about Marcus Semien? Would we have mentioned the Rangers in the top 10?
No.
Right. So the point is, no one has a clue right now what any Major League Baseball teams are going to do. For all we know, Pete, in a month from now, we're going to hear the White Sox are tearing it all down. I'm not saying that they are, but that's the point. Maybe the Marlins will get Eloy Jimenez. Like, we have no idea the direction of some of these teams. You have to wait until the winter to find out who's going all in, like Texas, who's getting out, like Cincinnati. So it is just so premature to think that we know who's going to be available that it's probably best to revisit this conversation in a month or two. But conceptually speaking, got to have at least 2 bona fide potential all-star players in this lineup next year to even think they could be a 500 team, in my opinion.
Agreed. Who has the highest trade value in your opinion right now? Pablito, Luzardo, Trevor Rogers, Uri Perez?
I was surprised to hear how much interest there was on Rodgers at the deadline. My
Mm,
sense is that's another name that's going to come up again. You're
yeah.
talking about a guy who turned it around in the second half, a ton of team control for years with Trevor Rogers. You don't have to pay him for several years. He's left-handed. The Marlins have Garrett. They have Luzardo. They have Jake Eater. They have Dax Fulton. They have so many lefties coming.
Mm.
A lefty's going to go, Pete.
Yeah,
You know,
they've got to go.
lefties. Listen, I love lefties,
Yeah.
and lefties are great. 3 guys, maybe even in a rotation, right? Like
Yeah.
you can have maybe 3. Usually 2 is like the max, but you could have 3 if you want in a rotation. But like they're on the verge of having 4. Yeah, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. So,
No.
Rogers, Luzardo, Eater, Dax, Garrett. That's 5. 5 guys. 1 or 2 is going to go.
Yeah. You assume that they won't entertain anything on Sandy Alcantara. However, he clearly has the highest value if you really want to give it the ultra
True.
upgrade. Sandy is the pathway to the ultra upgrade, but many Marlins fans would be concerned of that because we've been down that path before where you get 3-4 seemingly stud dudes and then they all fizzle and then you're left thinking, oh boy, what have we done? But
yeah, it's like what if I'll use the White Sox. So if the Marlins could trade Sandy Alcantara to the White Sox and get Luis Robert back and maybe even something else, would you do it? Like Marlins fans are like, no way, Sandy's the best, and then you take a look at Luis Robert, you're like, whoa, like that guy, like that's a serious play. Like so you see there's you can't get your heart into this. You can't dismiss things. I don't anticipate Sandy being traded. But what would he be worth with his deal? And on the open market, he'd be worth 2-3 all-star, bona fide, type players. But I don't see that scenario happening. It's very remote. I see Sandy here, and the interesting part about Sandy, I gotta tell you, is think about this: the Marlins, he's gonna win the Cy Young. They're gonna lose 95 games probably.
Yep.
He's having probably the best Marlins pitching season ever, if not close. No one has stopped to think, and Sandy, I love Sandy. He knows I love him too. No one has stopped to think, Pete, what happens if Sandy is like 10% worse next year? 10, just 10% worse. Like everyone's just assuming that this is who he's going to be, like forever. And it's pitching. You have no idea. Let's take a look at the Cy Young winners of the last 5 years.
Yeah.
What happened to Corey Kluber? Like what happened to Jake Arrieta? Corbin Burns is still good, but he's not Burns like he was last year. Like no one just seems to acknowledge that. Like, there's a chance Sandy is instead of an A+, he's a B+. Yeah. And then what? And then 5 of those wins are 5 of those losses. It's very easy to just look at all the good and say it's going to be better. It's going to be better. It's going to be better. Yeah. The one thing that the Marlins haven't done the last couple of years is prepare for the downside. They never seem to prepare for the downside. What if this happens? What if this happens? What if we lose? What if this guy gets hurt? It's always like, oh, bad luck. Bad luck. What? You don't prepare. Hurricanes coming your way. Get out of the way. Like, figure it out.
Yeah.
Not Willens Astudillo. That's not the answer.
Oh, my days. How about Astudillo was, up at the big league club in May or whatever it was. I mean,
unbelievable.
It's insane looking back at that. It's a great point though on Sandy because we've been thinking about that, and history tells us he takes these gradual steps, increments, getting better. He takes these like forward steps and has done. I don't think he's ever taken a backward step in the past 3 seasons. But to your point, the Cy Young is almost the pinnacle, and then it's like you maybe expect an element, or you got to plan for some regression. That's the point you're making, right? Is maybe that Sandy won't continue.
You have to. And the counter to that would be, well, this guy will be better and Jazz will be healthy and Wendell will be healthy. And I understand that. And that's a fair counter to take. But the best baseball teams have this sort of like disaster control. Like what happens if 3 of our position players get hurt? What happens if Avisail Garcia is just not as good as we thought? You have to they don't want to think that, but you have to put it in your mind. And until you have these plans, and it's really hard on a team with a payroll like the Marlins. This is the situation that you're going to find yourself in, And what happens if Floro's hurt to start the year? Oh, we'll just get this guy who walks everybody. Okay, that sounds like a great idea. Try that guy.
Oh boy, I can see a block coming your way there. I tell you, you're into dangerous ground here, Craig, no doubt. But of the guys you've seen, and we'll kind of finish up here shortly. The guys you've seen, because we've had a lot of eyeballs on a lot of different guys the last couple of weeks. I don't know how much the people are watching and how much you're watching, but we've had a chance to see a lot of guys. Are any of these guys standing out that you think there's a major league guy that can be on the 26-man roster going into 2023 there? Like a Groshans, a LeBlanc?
He's the only one.
Groshans?
Yeah, he's the only one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say Groshans is the type of player that is going to be doing all of the Marlins public relations stuff in the offseason, come meet Jordan Groshans at the Christmas Winterfest, like that. Like they're going to parade him around a little as some potential. I've seen this story before. Okay. And I think he will go into spring training. He'll play third. He'll play some short, maybe some second. Mm-hmm. And the words you'll hear from whoever the manager are is we're going to give him a chance to make the opening day roster. And then I think he'll make it. And I think that he's got a chance to be an everyday major league player. I do. I think he's the only one. Among who? Who were the other ones?
Well, I guess that you got LeBlanc. You've got I guess
maybe LeBlanc. Maybe.
What about obviously you've got Hayrar up there, Burdick, all these guys but what about Lewin Diaz though? For me, that the first base situation. No. Lewin's done.
Yeah, Lewin will be in a deal. Lewin will be in some deal this offseason.
Jesus Sanchez as well.
Jesus Sanchez, they'll give it probably another opportunity to, but this is on him. This is not on the organization. This guy has got to prepare more. He's got to watch more video. Got to show up on time.
Yeah.
And you could say that for other players on the team too, but make no mistake about it. The reason that he's in the minor leagues is him. He made zero adjustments over the course of the season. He's a very nice kid. He's very well liked, but I mean, forgetting there's a game. I don't know. There's that fine line between some things in baseball and he ended up staying up after that.
He did.
In his struggles, and he ended up staying up after that. So. I personally like him, and I hope he makes it, and I think he'll get another opportunity. But you'd have to ask the player development people and the guys at AAA, what they think. Do they think he can handle it the next time that he gets a shot? Yeah. At the best, a platooner, by the way, though, never against left-handed pitching. Forget it. Which is fine. San Francisco's platooning 8 guys a day. That's fine, but he's not going to hit lefties ever.
No, agreed. One final one then, Craig, because we're over for time, which is, par for the course, but I know you've got to run, so I'll let you run. But the final question, there was talk of this, and we need the clarity, the absolute clarity. Who's likely to pitch in game 162? Is it Sandy Alcantara or is it Brian Hoeing?
I'm hearing some people say that Sandy should pitch because it's the Braves and it's going to really mean something. I'll just tell you what my understanding is. This is my understanding with Sandy. And again, I guess I have to leave a crack of the door to be open. I thought it was 100%. I guess I'll leave it at 99% because Sandy is his own person here. And if he walks into Mattingly's office and says, hey, I want to pitch in game 162, he absolutely should not, by the way. This makes no sense whatsoever. No. None. Zero. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mets, Braves, whoever. I'm scared watching every pitch that guy throws because it is a spring training game. It is Mattingly will not even be managing the team. It'll be somebody else. He always anoints somebody else to manage. Yeah. It is the most meaningless game of the season is that game. Look at Cooper. Cooper got hurt. Now he's got to have a cast on for 4 weeks in a meaningless game. You can't pitch him that game. But if he wants to do it and he chooses to do it, then so be it. My understanding is the second he gets 200 strikeouts, that's it.
Yep. Which will likely be this weekend against the Brewers, we assume.
It'll be Friday against the Brewers. Now, from a competitive standpoint, that's a game where I think he has to go 6 innings or 5 innings because the Brewers are still in this thing. Yeah. And they're on the doorstep of the Phillies here. Yes. Let him go 5. I understand that, fine. But you got to be kidding me. Can you imagine something happening in that last game of the season?
Boy.
You at that point, you may as well just shut it down. You literally may shut it down at that point. I would not be able to handle it if that happened. It would be look, Sandy, I know him and he's going to want to do it and whatever, but somebody, Kim has got to run out onto the mound and tackle Sandy by the legs. You don't know this reference, but this is like Jeff Van Gundy on Alonzo Mourning. You should Google that for the NBA years past.
Okay.
Alonzo Mourning, this really big dude, and Jeff Van Gundy, this little guy. There was a big fight on the NBA court. It was Miami Heat, New York Knicks. And Van Gundy was on Alonzo Mourning's leg. Kim has got to run out to that mound and grab Sandy's leg and say, "Get off! No, don't do it. I am not pitching this guy the last game of the season. No way, no how, man."
No way. They've got to find a way. I'm completely with you. I've been talking about it on this show for a while, just kind of thinking about how maybe just need to ease Sandy down a little bit, like this kind of going into the 8th, 9th, 120 pitches in spring training. I know he's chasing the Cy Young.
He's going to pitch for the Dominican Republic. Come on. This is enough. He's done his job. He's a Cy Young Award winner. Let him go out against Milwaukee and do what he does.
Exactly. I think that will be the final one. Like to your point, there's just no value in 162. And, maybe he'll be the manager. Maybe that's the way to solve the problem.
Yeah.
We'll solve it. Sandy, you're the manager. Sit there and you do your thing and enjoy and pick up the Cy Young trophy while you're there. So, guys, that's going to wrap us up for Thursday's episode of Locked On Marlins. That was a fun one, and we will look forward to review the number of blocks that we have received subsequently. We'll wait and see on that. Bring them on, as they say. Craig, more blocks. Craig's absolutely prepared for it. Look at that suit jacket. He's looking sensational. I will step up my game next time around. I promise you for that. Craig, I appreciate you hopping on Locked On Marlins. Make sure you come back during the offseason when we get into this juicy offseason. There's so much the Marlins will need to do, and I think we will all need your knowledge and insight along the way. Appreciate Craig as always. Peter Pratt, Craig Mish signing out. Thursday's episode of Locked On Marlins. I am back tomorrow on Friday with Alex Carver. See you then.